You want to get what you want. That's a dangerous proposition. It's not just a matter of desire, it's a matter of transformation. And WENT, to even begin down that road, the first thing you have to do is tell the truth about what you want, not what you're supposed to want, not what your friends, your family, your professors, or society told you to want. What you actually want. And that's no trivial task, because if you truly knew what you wanted, you'd be a different person right now. You start with a question: what is worth the damn sacrifice of my life? Because that's what you're trading to your finite time, your irreplaceable attention, your energy, your spirit. People treat their days like they're infinite. They wilts time like they're immortal. That's a mistake. Life is short, brutally short, and it will punish you for pretending otherwise. So you must clarify your aim, not vaguely precisely. Imagine aiming an arrow. You don't just shoot into the forest and hope you hit something worthwhile. You find the target, you draw the bow, you steady your breath, and then you let go. It's the same with life. Without a target, every movement is wasted motion. And once you've clarified that aim, chaos will come for you. It always does. Because moving toward anything meaningful necessitates a confrontation with suffering, uncertainty, and failure. You want to be a writer, a leader, a parent, an honest person? Good. You'll You'll be rejected. You'll be betrayed, dismissed, and mocked. And that's exactly where the growth is. The dragon guards the gold. You have to go to the cave you fear the most. When I was 25, I didn't know if I could make it as a clinical psychologist. I didn't even know what kind of man I wanted to become. But I knew I couldn't live with myself if I didn't at least try. So I sat down, I wrote, I read, I watched, I learned, I failed. And I kept going. Because the alternative as stagnation was a slow death. It's better to be a struggling fool chasing meaning than a comfortable corpse suffocating in safety. To transform the world around you, you have to transform yourself. And the only way to do that is by speaking the truth. Not just to others, but to yourself. You start by admitting that you're not everything you could be, that your life isn't ordered properly, that you've been avoiding responsibility, and that somewhere inside you, there's something better, something waiting. But truth is heavy. It'll rip apart the parts of you that are false. And that hurts, but it's worth it. Because what's left after the lie, yes, that's real, that's you. And once you find that real self, you give it something to carry. Responsibility, you make sacrifices. You delay pleasure. You build strength through discipline. You stop blaming the world for your pain and start using that pain to construct something noble. You take on a burden voluntarily, and in doing so, you give your life meaning. You want to get whatever you want? Fine. Then act like it. Order your room. Tell the truth and stand up straight. Face the thing you fear most. Take responsibility for one thing today you've been avoiding for years. And don't just do it for yourself, do it. Because the world needs people who are willing to do it. Because when you fix yourself, you fix your family. When you fix your family, you fix your community. When you fix your community, you fix the world. One act at a time. One word at a time, one honest breath at a time. So get out there. I'm high. Speak clearly. Walk with purpose. Sacrifice what you are for what you could become. The world is waiting not for someone perfect, but for someone courageous. WENT, be that person. You start with a question so deceptively simple that most people never dare to ask it properly. What do I actually want? Not in some abstract, fuzzy, windfallotery kind of way. I mean, in the deepest, most personal sense. And to do that, define what you want you have, to first understand that wanting something clearly is dangerous. Because the moment you define it, you also define what you're not. You narrow the world. You say, this is meaningful, and everything else is less so. That's powerful. But it's also terrifying because now you're responsible for pursuing it. The ancient thinkers knew this. The biblical idea that in the beginning was the word implies that creation starts with articulation, with naming. When you name what you want, you bring something out of the chaos into being. But if you don't do that, you're just floating, reacting, being tossed around by life's storms with no sail, no rudder, and no hope of arrival. You're living passively, unconsciously. So, sit down, really sit down and write it out. What would your life look like in 5 years if you got it together? If everything didn't fall apart, but instead cohered into something beautiful? Be brutally honest. Imagine your career, your health, your relationships, your habits, your spirit. What would you be doing daily that you're in? But make no mistake, clarifying your aim will also cost you. You'll feel fear. Why? Because the moment you know what you want, you also know when you're failing to move toward it. You can't hide anymore. You can't numb yourself with the lie that you're figuring it out. You're either walking toward your aim or you're not. That level of self-honesty is rare, but it's the beginning of strength. Because once you're oriented, you can correct. You can adapt. You can endure. So clarify what you want precisely, truthfully, personally. It's the first step in transformation. And it's the step most people never take. They wait. They drift. Don't do that. Set your aim, no matter how humble. Aim small, fine, but aim well. Because direction, not speed, détermine destination. Would you like me to expand the third point? Next, to get what you want, you have to speak the truth first to yourself and then to the world. And let me tell you, that's not some vague philosophical gesture. It's a brutal, demanding, necessary act. You see, we lie all the time, not always with words, but with silence, with avoidance, with carefully curated facades. We pretend we're fine when we're not. We say yes when we mean no. We nod along when we should object. And all of that adds up. Every time you distort the truth, you abandon the very path that might take you to what you actually want. You can't negotiate with reality if you don't start by telling the truth. Think of it like this. Your life is a map. And if you're lying to yourself about where you are on that map, how the hell are you supposed to get to where you're going? You're lost. Worse, you're lost and pretending you're not. The truth grounds you. It gives you the coordinates, however ugly, however difficult, that you need to move forward with integrity. And truth-telling is not about unloading every opinion you've ever had on the world. It's not cruelty disguised as honesty. It's precision. It's saying what you actually think as clearly and courageously as you can. And more importantly, it's listening to the inner voice that tells you when you've betrayed yourself. You know that voice. Well, the one that tenses your stomach when you agree to something you shouldn't. The one that whispers, this isn't right, when you're pretending to be someone you're not. That voice tells the truth. You ignore it long enough, it stops speaking. Then you're in real trouble. When I was working as a clinical psychologist, I would tell my clients, if you can't say what you believe, you're not living your own life. You're living a counterfeit version. And people break down when they realize that because they've been trained since childhood to conform, to please, to hide their fears, their needs, their dreams behind a socially acceptable mask. But that mask doesn't protect you, it suffocates you. And worse, it keeps you from connecting to others authentically. If you never show who you are, how can anyone love you for it? Telling the truth also means acknowledging what you want. Most people won't even admit their desires out loud. Why? Because it makes them vulnerable. Because if they say it and fail, they feel like frauds. But the irony is, you can't even begin to succeed until you own your desire, until you say, this is what matters to me, and I'm willing to risk for it. It's only when you speak your truth into the world that the world can respond. Until then, you're hiding. You're passive. You're silent. And silence has a cost. Every lie, every evasion, every time you don't say what needs to be said, it takes a piece of your soul. Eventually, you start to feel hollow. You get bitter. You blame other people for your unfulfilled life, but deep down, you know the truth. You didn't speak. You didn't act. You didn't risk honesty. So start small. Say one true thing today you've been avoiding. Stand up in a conversation where you'd usually fold. Admit to yourself one place where you're being dishonest, because truth isn't just a moral obligation, it's a practical necessity. It aligns you. It clears the fog, and it draws people to you who are also seeking the real, the raw, the meaningful. Speak the truth not because it's easy, but because everything else is worse. You want something? Really want it? Then you'd better be prepared to carry the responsibility that comes with it, because nothing you truly value, nothing worth having comes without a price. And the price is you. Your comfort, your ease, your illusion, your laziness. Everything you are now has to be sacrificed in some form for who you could become. And that's a hard pill to swallow. That's why most people don't change. Not because they can't, but because they won't pay. There's a deep psychological principle at work here. The willingness to bear responsibility voluntarily is what gives life meaning. And meaning is what sustains you through the suffering that's built into existence. You're going to suffer one way or another. The question is,